You work 50 weeks a year. The government takes 15 of them before you even see the money. That is not a metaphor, that is the actual math, and it gets worse because what they leave you is not yours either. It is pre-spent, pre-obligated, and structured to disappear the moment it touches your account. By the time you subtract rent, debt service, insurance premiums, and engineered inflation, you are left with maybe 40% of what you actually earned. You are not living on your income. You are living on the leftovers of a system that treats your labor like raw material to be refined, taxed, and redistributed before you get a vote. This is not about fairness. This is about the design. And the design is older than you think. Every paycheck you receive has already been divided. The first cut goes to income tax, then Social Security, then Medicare, then state tax, then local tax. Some of you lose another slice to union dues or pension contributions you will never control. The money hits your account lighter than it left your employer's ledger, but you're told to be grateful because you got direct deposit. This is the foundational trick. They take the money before you feel ownership of it, before you hold it, before you spend it, before it becomes psychologically yours. The entire system runs on one principle. If you never possess it, you will never miss it. And if you never miss it, you will never fight for it. This was not always automatic. For most of human history, you got paid and then you decided what to give away. Taxes existed, but they were visible. A tax collector showed up. You handed over coins. You saw the cost. You felt the loss. There was friction. Friction creates resistance. Resistance creates rebellion. So in the early 20th century, governments experimenting with mass taxation realized they had a problem. If people saw the full cost of funding centralized power, they would riot. The solution was not to lower the cost, the solution was to hide it. In 1943, the United States introduced payroll withholding as a wartime emergency measure. It never went away. The pattern spread. Take the money before the worker sees it. Make the worker fill out forms to get some of it back. Reframe theft as a refund. Turn the victim into a participant. This was not an accident. This was behavioral engineering. Now apply that same logic to everything else they make you pay for. Health insurance is not optional. In many countries, it is legally mandated. You must buy it or face a penalty. But even if you buy it, you do not own the coverage. You own a contract filled with exclusions, deductibles, co-pays, and out-of-network penalties. You pay every month for a service you can only access after paying again. The insurance company profits twice. Once from your premium, once from your claim denial. The system is not built to protect you. It is built to extract from you whether you use it or not. And if you stop paying, you lose everything you already put in. There is no equity. There is no rollover. There is just monthly bleeding. Then comes rent. Or if you bought a house, the mortgage. The average rent in a mid-sized American city now takes 35 to 40% of gross income. In some cities, it is 50%. Even if you bought, your mortgage is structured so that the first 10 years of payments are almost entirely interest. You are not building equity. You are paying the bank for the privilege of one day owning what you are already living in. Property taxes ensure that even if you pay off the house, you never stop paying. Miss a few years of property tax and the state takes the house. Ownership is conditional. You are renting from the government with extra steps. Now add debt service, credit cards, student loans, car payments. The average American household carries over $90,000 in debt. The interest alone is a second rent. You are paying for money you already spent on things you may not even own anymore. The car depreciates. The degree does not guarantee income. The vacation is a memory. But the debt is forever until you kill it. And the minimum payment is designed to keep you paying forever. A $2,000 credit card balance at 18% interest with minimum payments takes over 20 years to pay off and costs you more than double the original amount. The system is not designed for you to escape. It is designed for you to service. Insurance is not just health. It is car insurance, renter's insurance, life insurance, disability insurance. Each one is a small monthly cut. Individually, they seem reasonable. Together, they are a tax on existence. You are paying for protection you probably will not use. under terms that make actually using it as difficult as possible. The model is the same everywhere. Spread the cost across millions of people. Deny as many claims as possible. Profit from the difference. You are not a customer. You are a revenue unit. Then inflation hits. Not the inflation they report. The real one. The one you see at the grocery store, the gas pump, the electric bill. The government says inflation is 3%. Your rent went up 8%. Your eggs cost twice what they did 2 years ago. Your car insurance renewed at 30% higher. Inflation is not neutral. It is a hidden tax on everything you have not spent yet. Your savings lose value while you sleep. The raise you got is erasure by the time you spend it. They print money to fund programs you did not vote for, and you pay for it in reduced purchasing power. You are being taxed without legislation. You are being robbed by a printing press. This brings us to stage 1, normalization of extraction. You are taught from childhood that taxes are the price of civilization, that insurance is responsible adulting, that debt is a tool for building wealth. The framing is everything. Taxation is not theft if you call it contribution. Debt is not servitude if you call it leverage. Insurance is not extortion if you call it security. The language is designed to make you accept the mechanism. And it works. Most people do not question it. They optimize within it. They try to get better interest rates. They shop for cheaper premiums. They never ask why the game exists in the first place. Stage 1 is making the trap feel like the terrain. Stage 2 is increasing dependency. The more you are inside the system, the harder it is to leave. Once you have a mortgage, you cannot just walk away without destroying your credit. Once you have employer-sponsored health insurance, quitting your job means losing coverage. Once you have a car payment, you need the job to keep the car, to get to the job. Every obligation you take on is another lock on the door. The system does not need to force you to stay. It just needs to make leaving expensive enough that you never try. And it works. The average person stays in a job they hate because they cannot afford the gap in income. They stay in a CT they cannot afford because moving costs money they do not have. They stay in debt because paying it off requires surplus they never see. Dependency is not built in a day, it is built one automatic payment at a time. Stage 3 is where the costs become invisible. You stop seeing the taxes because they are withheld. You stop seeing the insurance payments because they are auto-debited. You stop seeing the interest because it is rolled into the minimum payment. The pain is spread so thin across so many transactions that you never feel the full weight. This is intentional. If you had to write a check for every tax you pay in a year, you would revolt. If you had to manually approve every fee, every interest charge, every inflated price adjustment, you would stop. But you do not have to. It is all automated. It is all hidden. You see your net pay and you think that is your income. It is not. Your income is what you earned. What you see is what they let you keep. And the gap between those two numbers is where they live. Stage 4 is the illusion of control. You are given choices. Roth or traditional, HMO or PPO, fixed or variable rate, the choices are real. But they are all inside a system you did not design and cannot leave. It is like being asked whether you want to be taxed at 22% or 24%. The real question is why you are being taxed at all. But that question is not on the ballot. You are given the appearance of agency to prevent you from demanding actual freedom. And it works. People spend hours optimizing their tax withholdings to get a bigger refund, never realizing that a refund means they gave the government an interest-free loan all year. They feel smart. They feel in control. They are neither. Stage 5 is the adjustment of expectations. You are not comparing your life to what is possible. You are comparing it to your parents, your neighbors, your co-workers. And since everyone is inside the same system, the baseline keeps dropping. Your parents bought a house at 25. You are 32 and still renting. But half your friends are too, so it feels normal. Your parents retired with a pension. You have a 401k that might be worth something if the market does not crash before you are 65. But everyone else has the same setup, so it feels like progress. The system does not need to give you a good deal. It just needs to make sure everyone else has a worse one at the same rate. That way, you never realize how much you have lost. Stage 6 is the end game. You reach retirement age. You have been paying into Social Security for 40 years. You are told you will get a check, and you will. but the check is not enough to live on. So you draw from your 401k, which has been taxed on the way in if it is traditional, or taxed on the way out if it is Roth. Either way, they get their cut. You have been paying for housing for 50 years. You finally own it. But property taxes mean you are still paying rent to the state. You have been paying for health insurance your whole life. Now you are on Medicare, which does not cover everything. So you buy supplemental insurance, which costs money, which comes out of the fixed income you are now living on. You worked 50 years. You played by the rules. You saved what you could. And you are still one bad medical event away from financial ruin. This is not a failure of the system. This is the system working exactly as designed. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. The median American household earns about $75,000 a year. Federal income tax takes roughly $10,000. State and local taxes take another $4,000. Social Security and Medicare take $6,000. That is $20,000 gone before you touch the money. You are down to $55,000. Rent or mortgage averages $24,000 a year. You are at $31,000. Health insurance premiums for a family average $8,000. You are at $23,000. Car payments, insurance, and gas average another $9,000. You are at $14,000. Utilities, phone, internet add another $4,000. You are at $10,000. Groceries for a family cost about $9,000 a year now. You are at $1,000. For everything else, clothing, household goods, repairs, entertainment, savings, emergencies, $1,000. And we have not even added credit card debt, student loans, or childcare. This is not a budgeting problem. This is a structural extraction problem. The system is designed to take everything you make and leave you just enough to keep working. This is not a conspiracy. This is a business model. Governments need revenue to function. Banks need interest to profit. Insurance companies need premiums to exist. Landlords need rent to hold property. Each player in the system is optimizing for their own survival. But their survival depends on your compliance, and compliance depends on complexity. The tax code is 70,000 pages long, because if it were simple, you would understand how much you are paying. Insurance contracts are incomprehensible because if you could read them, you would see the exclusions. Loan agreements are filled with fine print, because if you understood the terms, you would never sign. The complexity is not a bug, it is the feature. It keeps you confused, compliant, and convinced that the problem is your failure to understand, not their design to obscure. But here is the crack in the system. Awareness. The moment you see the structure, it loses power. Not all of it. You still have to pay taxes. You still need shelter. You still have obligations. But you stop playing the game on their terms. You stop optimizing within a system built to drain you. You start asking different questions. Not how do I get a better interest rate, but why am I borrowing money for things that depreciate? Not how do I maximize my tax refund, but how do I reduce my taxable income in the first place? Not how do I afford rent, but how do I stop renting? Here's what that looks like. 1. Reduce automatic payments. Every subscription, every auto debit, every payment you do not manually approve is a slow leak. Cut them. If it is important, you will pay for it intentionally. If it is not, you just bought your life back one monthly charge at a time. 2. Reject leverage for depreciating assets. If it loses value, do not borrow money to buy it. That means no car loans, no credit card debt for vacations, no financing for furniture. If you cannot buy it outright, you cannot afford it. And if you cannot afford it, you do not need it as much as you think. 3. Own your labor. The less you depend on a single employer for income, insurance, and identity, the more freedom you have. Freelance, consult, build skills that travel. The goal is not to quit your job tomorrow. The goal is to make quitting possible. Because if quitting is possible, staying becomes a choice. And choice is the only real wealth. The system will not change. It is too profitable, too entrenched, too dependent on your participation. But you can change how you interact with it. You can see it, name it, refuse it where possible, minimize it where not. The 40% you keep is not enough to build a life on, but it is enough to start building an exit. And an exit does not mean moving to a cabin in the woods. It means reducing the surface area they can tax, the payments they can automate, the dependencies they can exploit. Every dollar you do not give them is a dollar they cannot take. Every obligation you do not sign is a chain you do not wear. You are not going to win by playing their game better. You are going to win by playing a different game entirely. And that game starts with one decision. I am done pretending this is normal. I am done optimizing my own extraction. I am done trading my life for access to a system designed to take most of it. The map is clear. You can see where you are. The only question left is whether you're going to stay there. If this opened your eyes to the cage you are living in, subscribe. Because in the next video, we dismantle the rest of the illusion.